Simple idea today. If you want somebody to understand, speak slowly. Talking fast and slow. We talk quickly to get people's attention. We talk loudly and people pay attention. That's what people on YouTube do. They speak loudly, they speak quickly, they try to have that energy, and you listen to them. And that's a good thing, right? Except when you want people actually to comprehend, when we want people actually to understand. Then you have to speak slowly. If you think about it, when you're talking to somebody and you can't really understand them, do you rather they repeat it again and again, but they speak really quickly, and you speak really quickly, and speak really quickly, and repeat it? Is that really how you like things explained to you? Is that really how you get it into your brain? So if you watch YouTube, oftentimes you see all these people that are great inspirational speakers, and they talk very quickly. They go through lots of different points. They may have an outline, they may not. They're great storytellers. They have lots of beautiful hand gestures. And guess what? They have a very rapid pace they speak at. And if you've never tried to create a video yourself, you probably wouldn't realize it's such a rapid pace. It's faster than we normally speak. However, if you think about a professor at school who's lecturing, he's speaking in this boring voice, explaining things in very much too much detail, shall we say. Everybody's falling asleep. I mean, who knows the topic better, that YouTuber or the professor who studied in this field for decades and taught for decades? Obviously, the professor. It's not an issue of whether or not the person understands the topic. That's why they could speak faster. It's the issue of whether or not the audience, the listener, the student comprehends it. And that's why they speak faster or slower. Because on YouTube, it's all about views. You're trying to get as many views as possible, trying to get people to get through it. And if you speak faster, you cover more material in a short amount of time. People don't like it when the videos are too long, when they're 20 minutes. 15 minutes is even cutting it. That's a bit long. 5 minutes is probably perfect. But how do you get through a complicated topic in 5 minutes? You just have to speak really fast. Presumably they really understand you, even though they don't. You can't actually repeat yourself very much. You just hit these highlighted points, and then you pause sometimes because you need to catch your breath, because you can't speak at a fast pace forever. But really, what's the point? There's a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's one of these renowned books. It's the Bible of rational economics. Many people don't read it, but Rahm Emanuel mentioned it one week, and Barack Obama, so I was like, wow, this book is important. I gotta read it. It'll influence my life. And Daniel Kahneman is an economist who won the Nobel Prize, but he talks about a concept that we have two types of processing in our brain, system 1 and system 2. And the fast system is the one that's more intuitive. You just process, you see stuff, you know what it is. Danger, for example, you're like, oh, that's a dangerous issue, let me go this way. And then there's the other process that's the more intensive process, uses a lot of brain power. And it's funny when you think about it, because we all have two different processing systems, and most of us just don't know it. So, for example, when you're walking along with your friend and just talking, and all of a sudden he pops a math equation up. So it's, yeah, so I was doing some calculation, and it's like 30 of those things, and they're $42 a pop. How much is that? Do you realize that you will slow down? You know how we say you could chew gum and walk at the same time, as in that's a basic skill, multitasking, so simple things. You can't actually walk and do this math calculation at the same time. You will actually slow down your pacing versus you will just stop completely because your brain is busy. Isn't that crazy? It's the same idea with comprehension. If somebody's speaking really quickly and you don't get it, well, it's a new concept. How are you supposed to comprehend it? It already takes so much effort for you just to get it. You don't have time to process words really quickly and try to figure out what is this word versus this word, because the things are all jumbled together because they're speaking so quickly, right? Huh? So I noticed this today when I was watching all these tutorial videos about Fusion 360. It's this 3D drawing software I'm trying to figure out how to use. And there's one guy who speaks really quickly, and I realized, oh, this is not for me. 26 tips for beginners. Yeah, I'm a beginner, but this is definitely not for beginners because he's going so quickly and he doesn't really show you much stuff. He just does it. And I'm trying to figure out how to copy him, and I just can't keep up. And yes, I could rewind. I could do it over. I could try to figure it out. But basically, what's the point? I can't even listen to this guy. I like the guy who speaks very slowly, not stereotypically, I mean, it's just there is one as an old man, but he speaks at a great pace. And there's a young guy too. He speaks at a very slow pace. And yes, he doesn't have as many views as the other people who speak at a much more rapid clip. But guess what? I think it's much better for comprehension purposes. And some people may say, yeah, you could just listen, you could slow it down, you could go back and forth, you could pause it. And if that's all correct, why don't you just speak it slow in the first place so you get it the first time around? Doesn't that just make so much more sense? See, when it comes to something essential, I know YouTube is definitely not something essential. Other than people who are in Africa, you're not going to learn how to do surgery on a patient by watching YouTube. In Africa, they sort of do that because they don't really have a choice. But in terms of YouTube, all these people have complaints. They speak so slowly. My friend said, oh, you speak so slowly, I'm falling asleep. But you are my friend, so I had to force myself to listen to the whole thing. But guess what? In all my years working as a doctor and talking to other doctors, I've never heard of anyone say they had a patient complaint because the doctor spoke too slowly. Because guess why? These things we talk about in a hospital, these are important things. When we're telling you about your diagnosis of cancer, do you want the doctor to tell you really quickly so he can tell you all this information in a short amount of time? Because we learned so much in medical school, and you need to cram all this information into 4 years of medical school, 3 years of residency, 3 years of fellowship, cram all that information in that short 10 minutes so they know it all? No patient ever wants that. They want you to hold their hand, to speak very slowly, to pause. Not just for a second or two, which seems like an eternity on YouTube, but to pause, to see what their reaction is, to give them time to process, to talk about it again in a very slow way, saying, well, so we did some studies. We're looking into this, and it seems like you may have something like a cancer. Wait a minute, let me explain more about what we can do about this, how we're going to investigate more, how we're going to figure things out, how we're going to work out a good treatment program for you. Would you rather they say all those words taking their sweet time, making sure words are well enunciated, you don't have to think in your brain too hard, what did he exactly mean by that word because it was so fast? When it's important, you want it to be spoken slowly. So speaking slowly is not bad. The same friend who complained about my YouTube being so slow, he actually said the most trustworthy accent is a southern accent where they do speak very slow. If you really want to explain, speak it slowly so the person can comprehend it the first time around, which is the best way.